Welcome back to our AWS certification series. If you haven't seen the previous videos, we recommend checking them out first to review earlier questions along with their answers and explanations. Now, let's dive into the next set of questions. Which AWS service is designed to securely deliver content like videos, APIs, and applications to users worldwide with low latency and high transfer speed? Correct answer: Amazon CloudFront. Explanation: Amazon CloudFront is a content delivery network that securely delivers data, videos, applications, and APIs to users globally with low latency and high transfer speeds via edge locations. Why others are incorrect? Amazon S3 used for storing objects, not for global distribution. Amazon Elastic Transcoder used for media transcoding, not content delivery. Elastic Load Balancing distributes traffic but not a CDN. A network engineer wants to set up a dedicated 10 gigabits per second connection from their on-premises environment to AWS. What AWS service should be used? Correct answer: AWS Direct Connect. Explanation: AWS Direct Connect provides dedicated, high-bandwidth, low-latency connections between your on-premises data center and AWS. Why others are incorrect? AWS VPN, secure but over the Internet, not dedicated. AWS Route 53 DNS service, not used for direct networking. AWS Private Link, used for secure access to services within AWS, not from on-premises. A company runs a containerized app on ECS and DynamoDB. It experiences usage spikes up to 10 times normal load. Which cloud feature helps manage this? Correct answer: Scalability. Explanation: Scalability is the cloud's ability to handle increased load by scaling resources up or down as needed. Why others are incorrect? Global reach refers to AWS global infrastructure. Agility refers to speed of change, not load management. Security important, but not related to scaling workloads. A company wants to automate tasks across EC2 instances and centralize operational data. Which AWS service should it use? Correct answer: AWS Systems Manager. Explanation: AWS Systems Manager enables central operations management and automation for EC2 and other AWS resources. Why others are incorrect? AWS Elastic Beanstalk, used for app deployment, not ops management. AWS Code Deploy handles app deployments, not central operations. AWS Trusted Advisor provides best practice recommendations, not automation. A company wants to use its ML model in a data warehouse for forecasting. Which AWS service should it use? Correct answer: Amazon Redshift ML. Explanation: Redshift ML lets you integrate ML models into Amazon Redshift using familiar SQL commands for predictions. Why others are incorrect? Amazon MemoryDB in Memory Store, not suitable for ML in warehouses. Aurora ML, ML-enabled relational DB, not built for warehouses. DynamoDB, no direct ML model integration. A company with limited AWS experience wants the simplest way to launch a website. Which service is best suited? Correct answer: Amazon Lightsail. Explanation: Lightsail offers pre-configured virtual servers, making it easy to launch a simple website with minimal AWS knowledge. Why others are incorrect? AWS Lambda for serverless functions, not simple websites. Elastic Beanstalk still requires some AWS understanding. Amazon EFS, a storage service, not for hosting site. A company wants to reduce compute costs for Lambda functions and EC2 instances over the long term. What should they choose? Correct answer: Compute savings plans. Explanation: Compute savings plans offer flexible pricing for compute services like EC2 and Lambda with long-term commitment. Why others are incorrect? Dedicated hosts higher cost, used for licensing and compliance. Reserved instances, useful for EC2 but not applicable to Lambda. Spot instances, cheaper but can be interrupted, not ideal for all use cases. Which AWS service offers a scalable and highly available graph database solution? Correct answer: Amazon Neptune. Explanation: Amazon Neptune is purpose-built for graph databases, offering high availability and performance. Why others are incorrect? Aurora Relational DB, not graph. Redshift Data Warehouse, not for graph relationship. DynamoDB, no graph capabilities. Which AWS service tool can a company use to estimate monthly AWS costs and simulate new workloads? Correct answer: AWS Pricing Calculator. Explanation: AWS Pricing Calculator lets users estimate monthly costs for AWS services before provisioning. Why others are incorrect? AWS Budgets tracks actual spending, doesn't estimate upfront. AWS Marketplace for buying third-party product. Trusted Advisor gives optimization suggestions, not detailed cost simulation. What allows users to programmatically interact with AWS services? Correct answer: AWS CLI. Explanation: AWS Command Line Interface allows users to manage AWS services via command line, scripts, or automation tools. Why others are incorrect? Code Deploy, used for automating app deployment. Trusted Advisor, a recommendation tool, not programmatic access. Management Console, web-based UI, not programmatic. A company must run workloads on premises but wants to use the same AWS control plane for management. Which AWS service fits this need? Correct answer: AWS Outposts. Explanation: AWS Outposts brings native AWS services, infrastructure, and operating models to virtually any on-premises facility, enabling hybrid cloud solutions using the same control plane as in the AWS cloud. Why others are incorrect? AWS Device Farm, used for app testing on real devices. AWS Guard Station, not an AWS service. AWS Fargate, serverless compute for containers, not on-premises. Which AWS service is a managed Hadoop framework that processes large data sets across EC2 instances efficiently? Correct answer. Amazon EMR. Explanation. Amazon EMR is a managed big data framework that makes it easy and cost-effective to run Apache Hadoop, Spark, and other frameworks for processing massive data. Why others are incorrect. Amazon Redshift data warehousing, not Hadoop-based. Elastic Beanstalk application deployment service, not big data. EC2 just compute, no managed Hadoop support. A company wants intelligent, continuous threat detection across AWS account. Which AWS service provides this? Correct answer. Amazon Guard Duty. Explanation. Guard Duty provides intelligent threat detection and continuous monitoring for AWS environments using machine learning and threat intelligence feed. Why others are incorrect. AWS Shield protects against DDoS, not general threat detection. Macie detects sensitive data, not threat. Detective analyzes findings, doesn't actively detect threat. Which component must be associated with a VPC to allow inbound internet traffic? Correct answer. Internet gateway. Explanation. An internet gateway is required to allow inbound and outbound internet traffic to resources in a public subnet of a VPC. Why others are incorrect. VPN connection for secure private access, not internet. NAT gateway allows outbound only for private subnet. VPC endpoint connects to AWS services privately. A beginner in AWS wants to deploy a scalable Node.js app easily. What service should they use? Correct answer. AWS Elastic Beanstalk. Explanation. Elastic Beanstalk is ideal for beginners. It handles provisioning, load balancing, scaling, and monitoring, allowing users to focus on just the code. Why others are incorrect. OpsWorks requires more advanced configuration. EC2 manual setup needed. CloudFormation infrastructure as code, not simple deployment. Which AWS well-architected framework pillar supports the practice of performing operations as code? Correct answer. Operational excellence. Explanation. The operational excellence pillar emphasizes automating operations, including using infrastructure as code, version control, and continuous improvement. Why others are incorrect. Reliability focuses on fault tolerance and recovery. Performance efficiency optimizing workloads. Security protecting data and systems. A company is testing a web app on EC2 for just 1 month. What pricing model suits best? Correct answer. On-demand instances. Explanation. On-demand instances are perfect for short-term, temporary workloads with no long-term commitment, like a 1-month pilot. Why others are incorrect. Reserved requires 1 or 3-year commitment. Spot may be interrupted anytime. Dedicated hosts costly, used for licensing or compliance. Which AWS service provides an in-memory data storage solution? Correct answer. Amazon Elasticache. Explanation. Elasticache supports Redis and Memcached, offering high-speed, low-latency, in-memory data caching. Why others are incorrect. Time stream, time series data, not in memory. RDS, relational DB, not in memory. DynamoDB, no in-memory caching layer built in. What AWS Cloud Advantage helps reduce variable costs through volume-based pricing? Correct answer: economies of scale. Explanation: AWS serves millions of users, enabling it to offer cost reductions at scale through bulk infrastructure purchasing, passing savings to customers. Why others are incorrect? Global reach, about AWS global infrastructure. Agility speaks to speed and flexibility. High availability deals with fault tolerance. A company needs dashboards and data visualizations from business data. Which AWS service should be used? Correct answer: Amazon QuickSight. Explanation: QuickSight is a business intelligence tool that allows users to create interactive dashboards and visualizations from data stored in AWS. Why others are incorrect? CloudTrail tracks API calls, not for dashboards. Aurora relational database. Macy sensitive data discovery, not BI analytic. Which AWS tool allows a company to visualize past and current AWS spending with interactive graphs and filtering options? Correct answer: AWS Cost Explorer. Explanation: AWS Cost Explorer offers interactive dashboards that help visualize AWS spending patterns, trends, and forecasts across time. It's ideal for historical and current cost analysis. Why others are incorrect? AWS Config tracks configuration changes, not cost. AWS Budgets sets budget thresholds but doesn't show historical cost graph. Cost and usage report raw data export, not graphical. A company needs stateless filtering of traffic at the subnet level within a VPC. Which option should it choose? Correct answer: Network ACL. Explanation: Network ACLs provide stateless network-level control at the subnet level. They evaluate traffic inbound and outbound independently, unlike Security Group. Why others are incorrect? Security Group, stateful, works at instance level. AWS Private Link for private connectivity to AWS services. AWS WEF, web layer protection, not for general subnet traffic. A company is relocating and wants to securely connect its new office to AWS with encryption. Which service should it use? Correct answer: AWS VPN. Explanation: AWS VPN creates encrypted tunnels from an on-premises network to AWS, securing data in transit. Why others are incorrect? Amazon Connect Cloud Contact Center Solution. Route 53 DNS Management. API Gateway manages APIs, not networking. Which AWS service can detect personally identifiable information such as credit card numbers in S3 bucket? Correct answer: Amazon Macy. Explanation: Amazon Macy uses ML to discover sensitive data like PII in Amazon S3, helping meet compliance and privacy requirements. Why others are incorrect? Guard Duty detects threats, not PII. Inspector finds vulnerabilities in EC2 and containers. Shield DDoS protection, not data inspection. A company wants to set up a private, cloud-hosted Git-based source control system. Which AWS service is suitable? Correct answer: AWS Code Commit. Explanation: AWS Code Commit is a fully managed private Git repository service that supports source control with no need for self-hosted Git servers. Why others are incorrect? CodeStar coordinates CI/CD projects, not source control itself. Code Deploy deploys applications, doesn't manage code repositories. Code Pipeline automates build, test, deploy, not a source control system.